My name is Maya Chin. I'm 27 years old. That night at Ruby's kitchen, everything changed forever. We sat around a big round table. My older sister Emma pointed her finger at me. You need to get a real job, she said loudly. Stop taking money from Mom and Dad. Everyone at the table laughed. Mom giggled. Dad shook his head like I was a silly child. My brother-in-law looked down at his food. He seemed uncomfortable. The waiters walked past our table. They stared at me. I felt my face turn red. I held my water glass tight. My hands were shaking. Years and years of them treating me badly all came rushing back. Emma leaned forward with a mean smile on her face. She thought she was so much better than me. Then my phone rang. It was Mr. Thompson from the bank. Hello, Maya, he said in a quiet voice. Your family wants to take out $20,000 this month. Should I let them? I looked at Emma's smug face. I looked at my parents laughing at me. Something inside me snapped like a rubber band. No, I said clearly into the phone. Stop all their money. Right now. Emma's face went white like paper. Mom's mouth fell open. Dad stopped laughing immediately. They all stared at me with big eyes full of shock. For so many years they called me lazy. They said I would never be anything. They made fun of my dreams every single day. But I had a secret. A huge secret that would blow up their perfect little world. I could have stayed quiet. I could have let them keep making fun of me like always. But something broke inside my heart that night. What happened next? Let's just say their happy smiles disappeared completely. Before I tell you my whole story, write a comment below. What time is it where you live right now? What city are you watching from? I want to know how many people hear my story. I grew up in a small town called Riverside. We lived in a huge white house with a swimming pool. My dad, Robert Chen, owned 3 car shops in town. Everyone knew his name. My mom, Linda Chen, was the principal at the biggest school. They threw fancy parties every month. Rich people came to our house wearing expensive jewelry and nice suits. Everything had to look perfect. Perfect house. Perfect kids. Perfect life. I was supposed to be perfect too. Dad wanted me to take over his car business. He talked about it every single dinner. But I never wanted to sell cars. My older sister Emma was their golden child. She was 5 years older than me. Emma studied business in college. She got good grades. She won awards. At every party, Mom would tell everyone about Emma's accomplishments. Emma just got promoted again, Mom would say with a huge smile. She's going to be a vice president soon. Meanwhile, I sat in the corner. Nobody asked me about my life. I spent hours in my bedroom drawing pictures and making designs. I loved creating things with colors and shapes. By high school, I was designing websites for my friends. Simple stuff, but I loved every minute of it. I showed Dad one of my designs once. I was so excited. Look what I made, I said, holding up my laptop. He barely looked at it. That's nice, honey, he said. But you need to focus on business classes. Mom said the same thing. Art is just a hobby, sweetie. It won't pay the bills. Emma rolled her eyes whenever I talked about design. Why waste time on that stuff? She would say mean things like that all the time. The pressure felt like a heavy rock on my chest. Every report card, every family dinner, every conversation was about what they wanted me to be. Dad talked about his business deals. Mom bragged about her important meetings. Emma's name was mentioned 100 times a day. I'm 27 now, but those memories still hurt. I loved art and design more than anything. Made me happy. But I had to hide it from my family. In high school, I would stay after class in the computer lab. I taught myself graphic design by watching videos online. I made posters and logos for school clubs. Nobody at home knew about it. Once, I won first place in a design contest. My picture was in the newspaper. I brought the paper home so excited. I thought maybe they would be proud. Mom looked at it for 2 seconds. That's sweet, she said and put it down. Dad didn't even read it. Emma laughed and said it was cute, like I was a little kid. That hurt worse than anything. My family cared so much about what other people thought. They went to fancy restaurants. They played golf at expensive clubs. The neighbors always talked about the Chen family. They're so successful, people would say. But I saw the truth. Dad worked all the time and barely talked to us. Mom was always stressed about her job. Emma needed their praise like she needed air to breathe. I watched her show off her new car to get compliments. She needed everyone to tell her she was amazing. I went in a different direction. Design became my safe place. A world where I made the rules. By my last year of high school, I had made a website that got thousands of visitors. I told nobody at home. Their rejection taught me to keep my dreams private. To build something they couldn't destroy. It wasn't about proving them wrong yet. It was about proving to myself that I mattered. College changed everything for me. I went to Pacific Art University across the country. It was far from Riverside. Choosing that school caused a huge fight at home. Art school. Dad yelled so loud the neighbors probably heard. That's a complete waste of money. Mom's voice was cold. You're throwing your future in the trash, she said with disappointed eyes. Pack my bags anyway. I put my sketchbooks and laptop in my suitcase. This was my quiet rebellion against everything they planned for me. Emma called me right before I left. You're making a huge mistake, she said in a nasty voice. I hung up on her. I was determined to prove everyone wrong. In my first year I met Sophie Martinez. She was an amazing designer who could turn any idea into something beautiful. We became best friends instantly. We stayed up late working on projects together in the studio. Sophie wasn't just a friend. She was my partner. One night, drinking cheap coffee, we came up with an idea. We wanted to build a website that helped small businesses make their own beautiful designs without spending a lot of money. It was rough at first. Just a basic idea. But it felt important. We spent months building it. We worked in tiny coffee shops with our laptops. We survived on pizza and energy drinks. Sophie stayed positive when I wanted to give up. This is going to change lives, she would say with sparkling eyes. By my second year we had something real. Our website could help people make logos, posters, and websites easily. Local shops started using our site. Money was really hard. School cost so much money. Dad and Mom refused to help pay. We're not funding your silly dream, Dad said on the phone. I worked 3 part-time jobs. I cleaned offices at night. I tutored kids on weekends. Barely slept. Every penny went to school and our website project. Then I met Mrs. Patricia Hayes. She was a successful designer who taught a weekend workshop. She looked at our website and gave us tough feedback. She pointed out every flaw. But then she smiled. You two have something special here, she said. She handed me her business card. Polish this and I'll introduce you to investors. Her mentorship saved us. Mrs. Hayes taught us about business. She showed us how to talk to investors. She made us practice our presentations over and over. By my 3rd year, Sophie and I officially started our company. We called it Design Wave. We kept it secret. We registered everything privately so my family wouldn't find out. Especially Emma. Hiding it from my family was exhausting. Dad called every week. When are you going to quit this nonsense? He asked like my education was a joke. Mom sent long emails. She told me about her friends' kids who had real jobs already. Emma's texts were the worst. Still playing with crayons? She wrote with laughing emojis. I never replied. Sophie and I met in secret places off campus. We didn't want anyone to recognize us. Our website grew bigger. First, small businesses used it. Then bigger companies noticed us. By my last year of college, we got our first investment. Someone gave us money to grow our company. It was enough to hire 5 people to help us. I rented a small apartment near campus. I skipped going home for holidays. I avoided their questions. Dad and Mom thought I was broke and struggling. Emma assumed I was failing at everything. I let them believe those lies. Staying silent wasn't weakness. It was strategy. It was protection. Design Wave grew faster than we ever imagined. Our website helped businesses save time and money. People loved it. Word spread quickly. Mrs. Hayes connected us with rich investors who believed in our vision. We got more money right after I graduated. Our company was worth $40 million. Sophie and I split everything equally. We made every decision together. She handled the creative side. I managed the business side. Mrs. Hayes kept us focused and smart. I would lie awake some nights amazed at what we built. But I was also scared. Telling my family would open a door I couldn't close. They would judge me. They would want control. Emma's voice echoed in my head. Her old insults about my stupid art. I wasn't ready to face that storm. So I kept building. Kept hiding. I let their assumptions fuel my drive to succeed. Every design we created. Every client we helped. Every dollar we earned was a step toward freedom they couldn't touch. After graduation, I made a bold choice. Design Wave, the company Sophie and I built in college, wasn't just a student project anymore. Within 1 year, we were making millions of dollars. Our website helped over 100,000 businesses. By year 2, investors were calling us non-stop. We closed a huge deal that made Design Wave worth $150 million. I was 27 years old. I was running a company that changed how small businesses looked. But I kept it completely secret from my family. Back in Riverside, I rented a tiny apartment. I drove an old beaten-up Toyota. I wore regular clothes from discount stores. Not because I had to. I could have bought a mansion. But I did it to keep Emma from getting jealous. Her competitive nature turned everything into a war. I wasn't ready to give her ammunition. My simple lifestyle was a disguise. I parked my old car blocks away when meeting clients. I only wore nice business clothes in the office. Sophie thought it was hilarious. She joked that I was a secret millionaire. But it wasn't funny to me. Emma's insults from my teenage years still stung. Her calling my art worthless while Dad and Mom agreed. I learned early that showing success would only bring their jealousy and demands. So I stayed quiet. I let them believe I was barely surviving. A failed dreamer who never lived up to the Chen family name. My bank account told a completely different story. But only my financial advisor knew the truth. To protect myself, I set up a family fund. It was managed through a private company. This was my way of making sure Dad, Mom, and Emma wouldn't go broke. Despite how badly they spent money. Controlled it tightly. I had to approve every withdrawal. It was my safety net against their reckless shopping. The fund was generous. Paid for their fancy lifestyle. But I kept my name hidden. My lawyer, Mr. David Park, handled all the paperwork. My name never appeared anywhere. When Mom called once to thank the mystery benefactor, I played dumb. Maybe it's a rich uncle, I said, changing the subject quickly. Dad never mentioned it. Too proud to admit he needed help. Emma was clueless. She bragged about her well-earned luxury. She thought it came from her marketing job. Their view of me never changed. At a family reunion at the lake, Emma cornered me by the dessert table. "Still chasing that art fantasy?" she asked with fake pity in her voice. I shrugged and drank my soda. I let her think I worked some boring office job. Dad chimed in later. His voice was gruff and disappointed. "You should have studied business," he said, shaking his head. Mom was sneakier. She gave me career advice constantly. "It's not too late to change paths," she would say with a tight fake smile. They saw me as the family failure. The one who would never amount to anything. I didn't correct them. Their wrong assumptions were my shield. They kept my real world separate and safe from theirs. Hiding took a toll on my mental health. Late nights at the office, I stared at financial reports. I wondered if I could ever escape their judgment. That's when I started seeing Dr. Lisa Freeman. She was a therapist who helped people with family problems. In her calm office, I unpacked everything. The weight of Dad's demands to join his business. Mom's subtle digs about my choices. Emma's constant need to be better than me. Dr. Lisa listened carefully. Her questions were sharp but kind. "Why keep this secret?" she asked one day, leaning forward. I didn't have a clear answer at first. Just a gut feeling that revealing my success would invite chaos. They would try to control it, I finally said quietly. Dr. Lisa nodded. She suggested I set boundaries. But I wasn't ready to confront them. Not yet. Keeping Design Wave hidden wasn't just about family. The business world was brutal. Staying low-key let me focus on growth without distractions. Sophie and I expanded our team. We hired talented designers who shared our vision. Mrs. Hayes pushed us to innovate constantly. She introduced us to new markets. We signed contracts with huge companies. Our website was saving them millions every year. Yet every time I visited Riverside, I slipped back into my old role. The quiet sister. The disappointment. At a charity event Dad hosted, I overheard Emma bragging loudly. "Unlike some people, I actually have a successful career," she said, glancing at me. I smiled thinly. I held my glass tightly. I knew my company's value was bigger than her entire career. My double life wasn't sustainable forever. But it gave me control. I built something extraordinary. Something that was mine alone. Every dollar earned. Every happy client was proof I didn't need their approval. Still, their voices haunted me. Emma's smirks. Dad's lectures. Sighs. Dr. Lisa's sessions helped me understand. Their criticism wasn't really about me. It was their own insecurities. They projected their fears onto my choices. I wasn't ready to reveal the truth yet. But I was preparing. Each meeting with Mr. Park. Each strategy session with Sophie. Each late-night call with Mrs. Hayes built my confidence. I would show them who I really was. But only on my terms. When the time was perfect. That evening at Ruby's kitchen started normally. Polite hellos. Glasses clinking. Forced smiles all around. But within minutes, the mood turned icy. I knew I was about to become their target again. Emma wore an expensive designer dress. She leaned forward with a cruel smile. "You're still mooching off us," she said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. "When will you stop being a burden on this family?" Her words felt like a punch to my stomach. Sharp and deliberate. Dad chuckled. His eyes gleamed with amusement. "She's right," he muttered while cutting his steak. Mom's laugh was softer but equally hurtful. "We've supported you long enough," she said, sipping her wine. My brother-in-law Marcus sat silently. His eyes stayed on his plate. But I saw unease flicker across his face. I sat frozen. My fork stopped in midair. Their words cut through years of buried pain. For so long I let them paint me as worthless. The one who never measured up. Emma's smirk grew wider. She sensed my silence as surrender. She pushed harder. Her tone mocking. "Maybe get a grown-up job instead of doodling pictures." Dad nodded. His expression smug. "Business school would have been smarter," he said. As if my entire life was a mistake. Mom added. "You could still apply to business programs." Their voices blended into a familiar song. One I'd heard since childhood. But this time something shifted inside me. Their judgment didn't just hurt anymore. Made me angry. Really angry. Then my phone buzzed. A sharp vibration against my leg. I glanced down. An email from Mr. Park. My lawyer. The subject line said, "Urgent, unauthorized fund access attempt." My heart raced as I opened it. Mr. Park's message was crystal clear. Emma tried to withdraw $35,000 from the family fund. She claimed it was for emergency business expenses. She bypassed all the rules. She assumed I wouldn't notice. My hands trembled. Not from fear. From clarity. Emma wasn't just insulting me. She was stealing from me. I looked up. She was still mid-sentence. Still mocking my pathetic excuse for a career. Dad and Mom grinned. They were accomplices in her attack. Marcus's eyes met mine briefly. Like he sensed something coming. My mind spun fast. I could stay silent. Let them believe their lies. Keep the peace like I always did. But the email burned in my thoughts. Emma's betrayal. Their laughter. Their absolute certainty that I was nothing. I'd spent years building Design Wave. company worth hundreds of millions. While they saw me as a leech, I'd funded their expensive lives through the fund. Yet they mocked me at this table. Dr. Lisa's voice echoed in my memory. Set boundaries or they'll keep taking. I'd ignored her advice, afraid of the explosion. But now sitting here with their words ringing in my ears, I felt fire ignite inside me. I wasn't their punching bag anymore. I gripped my phone. My decision hardened like steel. I could have texted Mr. Park back privately, dealt with Emma later in secret. But their laughter, their arrogance pushed me past that point. I'd hidden my success to avoid their drama. But they crossed a line. Emma's attempted theft wasn't just greed. It was a violation, a belief she could control what I built. I looked at her, still smirking. A calm resolve washed over me. This dinner wasn't just another family meal. This was my breaking point. I was done hiding. I'd confront them, not with anger, but with truth. The truth they never saw coming. I stood up slowly. My voice was steady and firm. The noise at Ruby's kitchen faded. Every eye at our table locked onto me. Emma's smirk froze. Her wine glass hovered in midair. Dad's fork clanked against his plate. His eyebrows furrowed together. Mom's lips parted. Her usual composure cracked. Marcus leaned back, his expression unreadable but alert. I'd spent years swallowing their judgment, hiding my truth to avoid conflict. But tonight their words, Emma's financial burden, Dad's smug agreement, Mom's pitying sighs, it all pushed me too far. I was done playing their game. I'm not the burden here, I said. My tone was calm but cutting. I built Design Wave, a design company valued at $150 million. It's mine. Every single dollar. Every single achievement. The table went completely silent. My words hung heavy in the air. Emma's face drained of all color. Her eyes went wide with disbelief. Dad's jaw tightened. His hands gripped the tablecloth. Mom blinked rapidly, like she was processing a foreign language. I didn't stop talking. You've been living off my money, I continued, staring directly at Emma. The family fund. Created it. Control it. And I know you tried to steal $35,000 from it last week. Emma gasped. Her hand flew to her chest. That's a lie, she snapped. But her voice cracked. She was panicking. Held up my phone. Mr. Park's email was clear evidence. You thought you could manipulate the fund behind my back, I said. You've been scheming for years. Acting like I'm worthless. While you spend my money on your fancy clothes. Her eyes darted to Dad and Mom, seeking rescue. But they were too stunned to speak. Dad's face turned red, his pride wounded. Mom clutched her napkin. Her gaze dropped to the table. I turned to them. Dad, you said business was my only option. Mom, you pushed me toward management like it was my salvation. You both dismissed my work, called it a silly hobby. But I built something bigger than your careers combined. My voice stayed even. But each word carried years of suppressed anger. I've been funding your lifestyle, your parties, your vacations, while you laughed at me. Not anymore. Pause, letting the truth sink in deep. The fund stops today. No more handouts. Dad sputtered, his voice rising. You can't just cut us off, he barked, slamming his fist on the table. Mom reached for his arm, her face pale white. We're your family, she said, her tone pleading for the first time ever. Emma's eyes narrowed, her shock turning to rage. You're lying, she hissed. You're not capable of this. I met her glare, unflinching. Check the Forbes tech list, I said calmly. Design Wave has been on it for 6 months. I'm not the failure you wanted me to be. Marcus cleared his throat, breaking the tension. I heard about Design Wave, he said quietly, his voice steady. A colleague mentioned it last month. Said it's revolutionary. His nod was subtle, but it carried weight. Emma whipped her head toward him, her expression mixed betrayal and panic. You knew, she demanded. Marcus shrugged. His eyes met mine with a flicker of respect. I suspected, he said. Didn't think it was my place to say. The table fell silent again, the air thick with their shocked realization. I'd flipped their world completely upside down, exposing the lie they built around me. Emma's manipulation, their collective dismissal. It all unraveled in that single moment. Felt no triumph, only relief. I'd carried their expectations like chains, hiding my success to avoid their chaos. But now the truth was out, and I stood taller than ever before. Dad's anger, Mom's desperation, Emma's denial. They couldn't touch me anymore. I claimed my independence, not just from their money, but from their judgment. The days after were chaotic. My phone exploded with messages. Emma texted constantly, each message more desperate. We need to talk, she wrote. Then, I'm buried in debt. Please help me. Her tone was softer than I'd ever heard. But it reeked of manipulation. I stared at the screen. Her words pulled at old wounds. She'd called me a burden at Ruby's kitchen, mocked my life for years. Yet now she expected my rescue. I typed a short reply. Unyielding. You're on your own. I hit send and blocked her number. My heart pounded. But I was resolute. I'd drawn a line. And I wasn't stepping back. Emails from Dad and Mom came next, landing in my inbox with fake politeness. We're struggling without the fund, Dad wrote. His words stiff, as if admitting need caused him pain. Mom's email was longer, filled with guilt trips. We've always been there for you. Now we need help, she said. Listing expenses, property taxes, club dues, their lifestyle crumbling. I read their messages in my small apartment. The irony was bitter. They dismissed my success. Yet now they reached for it. I didn't respond. Silence was my answer. A refusal to fuel their entitlement. The fund was closed, and I wouldn't reopen it. Emma's world collapsed fastest. Her marketing career built on appearances couldn't sustain her reckless spending. A friend mentioned she sold her BMW, trading it for a used Honda. Her luxury condo downtown was next. She moved to a small apartment on the edge of town. Her social media went quiet. I didn't gloat. Her downfall wasn't my victory. It was simply consequences catching up. She'd relied on the fund, assuming it was endless, never questioning where it came from. Now, without my money propping her up, her facade crumbled. I wondered if she learned anything. But I doubted it. Dad and Mom faced their own reckoning. The beach house in California, a symbol of their status, went up for sale. I saw the listing online. Ocean views. Priced to sell fast. They downsized to a smaller house in Riverside. Their charity events stopped, replaced by quiet evenings at home. Dad's business slowed down. Mom retired early. Their pride kept them from calling. But their emails grew more frequent, each one a hidden plea for help. I archived them without reading. They'd built their lives on control, on the idea that I'd never surpass them. Letting them struggle wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. Meanwhile, my world moved forward fast. Sophie flew to visit me for a planning meeting. Her energy as sharp as ever. We sat in a quiet cafe. Papers spread across the table. Plotting Design Wave's next big moves. We're ready to expand globally, she said. Her eyes gleaming with excitement. Europe, Asia. Our platform is perfect for their markets. He nodded, sketching out timelines and strategies. We'd hired a bigger team, opened a second office, and were preparing to go public on the stock market. Design Wave was soaring. And Sophie's partnership kept me grounded. She didn't ask about my family. She knew enough from our college days together. Instead, she focused on our future. Her pragmatism was a stark contrast to the drama I'd left behind. Their struggles didn't soften me one bit. I'd spent years carrying their expectations, hiding my success to avoid their judgment. Now free of that weight, I saw their dependence for what it was. A refusal to take responsibility for themselves. Emma's debts. Dad and Mom's downsizing. They'd built lives on borrowed time, assuming I'd always be their safety net. I wasn't. My focus was Design Wave. My team. My vision for the future. Sophie and I spent hours perfecting our expansion plan. Each decision a reminder of what I built without them. Their world was shrinking rapidly, but mine was only beginning to grow bigger. 6 months later, I stood in front of my new office building. The modern glass structure housed Design Wave's expanded headquarters, a physical symbol of years of hard work and vision. I'd cut all contact with my family completely, their numbers blocked, their emails filtered to a folder I never opened. The silence was liberating. No more Emma's demands, Dad's lectures, or Mom's guilt trips. My world was mine now, built on my terms alone. I walked through the office, watching my team, engineers, marketers, dreamers like me, pushing our company toward new horizons. Design Wave was thriving, and so was I. I channeled my energy into something bigger than myself. I founded the Creative Futures Foundation, a charity supporting young people in design and art. It offered scholarships, mentorships, and free training programs, giving them tools I'd fought hard to claim. At the launch event, I met kids from difficult backgrounds, their eyes bright with ambition and hope. One shy girl named Jasmine reminded me of my younger self, hungry to prove her worth to the world. "You're why I started this," I told her, handing her a scholarship letter. Her face lit up with joy. The foundation gave my success real meaning, a way to pay forward what I learned through struggle. It wasn't about fame or redemption. It was about building paths for others who felt invisible. Emma's life continued unraveling. A former classmate mentioned she was working retail now. Her marketing career stalled completely. She'd taken a job at a mall store to cover her debts. A far cry from her days of flaunting wealth and status. I didn't reach out to her. Her choices, her manipulation, her greed led her there. Dad and Mom too had faded from my world. They'd settled into a modest townhouse, their social calendar empty, their influence over me completely gone. A mutual friend said they rarely spoke of me, as if my absence was a wound they couldn't face or heal. I felt no guilt about any of it. Their expectations had once chained me down, but I'd broken free completely. The lessons were hard-earned but crystal clear. Self-reliance was my anchor now. Nobody could define my worth but me. Emma's scheming. Dad and Mom's dismissal taught me the cost of manipulation. They tried to control me, to keep me small and insignificant. But their tactics backfired spectacularly. Living true to myself meant shedding their judgment, choosing my path over their approval every single time. I wasn't perfect by any means, but I was honest with myself, with my work, with my values. That was enough for me. My office building, the Creative Futures Foundation, Design Wave's explosive growth. They were proof of what I could do when I stopped seeking their validation. Thank you for listening to my story. If you faced family pressure or doubt, share your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe for more stories from Glow Girl Revenge.